Greetings and welcome back to my garage. Today I am talking a bit about wheels and tyres, and indeed I'm going to be unboxing and getting some prep work done on my brand new Revo wheels, getting them ready to go into the car once the weather gets a bit better. So inside these two very large boxes with the very obvious Revo tape are my brand new wheels. These boxes have been in here for a little while now. You probably noticed them I think a while back whenever I was doing another garage update video just after I had received them. I did give a brief little look at them, but back then whenever I received them it was kind of coming towards the end of the season last year and the weather was starting to get a bit bad, and it was about the time where people would be switching to winter wheels and what have you anyway. So that is why they've just been sitting here all this time. But now we are on the other side. I mean, if we look out here, the weather is still a bit meh, but it is getting a bit better. We're not too far away from the spring and that will be time to get the wheels on. But of course, before we get them on, I do need to do a bit of prep work, and the first part of that of course is going to be unboxing. Now over here in my garage I've got a bunch of cardboard laid out so that I can set the wheels down without like damaging them, but yeah, I mean inside these big boxes, obviously there's two boxes, so there's going to be two wheels inside each box, and whenever we open them up we see RFO. We've got each wheel individually boxed up inside here. So first stage is to pull these individual boxes out. So there we go, that is all four out. So the boxes are pretty sweet. Obviously you've already seen that they say RFO on top, which indicates the model of the wheel, and then we've got this cool bit of Revo stuff. Anyone can buy a fast car, hashtag only the driven can build one. Down here we see the actual specs of the wheels. So Revo RF019, black gloss, 19 by 8.5 because these are the 19 inchers. ET45 is the offset, 5x108, obviously that's the stud pattern on the RS. Production date 23rd of September 2020. Interestingly enough, I bought these wheels probably like May, maybe last year, back in 2020, and I actually bought what the only Revo wheel available in 19 inch at the time was, which was the RV019, but whenever I bought them they were on back order and they were not due for like 3 months after that. Because of the pandemic stuff, there was issues getting them made, I believe, over at Revo. I was okay with that, I got them for a reasonable price, it is what it is. But then the company that Revo used to make the RV019s went bust, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. So at that point then Revo were seeking a new supplier, a new manufacturer for their wheels, and at that point they took the opportunity to update the spec of the wheels, which is why they are now RFO, and we'll get to that very, very soon. Now I have all four wheel boxes out of the big boxes. Now we can get each wheel out onto our cardboard. Okay, so might as well do this one that is up high. So of course, very careful with the knife, don't want to stick it in too far, just in case. So there we go. So we roll around here, you can see it says RFO, lightweight flow formed. Of course, that is what I was getting at with the change in the model designation from RVO to RFO, F standing for flow formed, which is the update that Revo made. So inside here then you get a piece of cardboard, and then we get our wheel wrapped in this sort of shower cap type of thing, and there it is. Beautiful. Very, very nice. Got a little bit of dirt on there, but we're going to take care of that very, very soon. And they're just beautiful wheels, they really are. But we'll get a closer look very, very shortly. So other stuff in here, we got our little Revo cap, which is cool. And we get a bag full of wheel nuts, which I don't know if I'll be, I'll just leave them in there actually. I don't know if I'll be using these. So they're just like a bunch of just bog standard wheel nuts, which to be fair are probably better than the Ford wheel nuts, which are notorious for being very soft and just destroying themselves. But yeah, that's what we get in the box there. So now I can pull this out and put it over onto my cardboard floor and do that for all of them. There we go then, that is all 4 wheels unboxed and set onto a couple of layers of cardboard for protection while we get them nicely prepped. And man, out of the box they just look so nice. The shape of them, if you get in real close you can see it has this sort of concave but yet angular look to them. The paintwork looks perfect. You've got these cool bits that say flow formed here, and then over on the other side it says Revo. And yeah, I mean, they're just absolutely awesome looking, I think, anyway. And of course that was a big consideration whenever I was shopping around for wheels to replace my wheels. Now whenever I got my RS, it came with the standard wheels, the ones with like loads of spokes, which are cool, but I always kind of thought to myself I would rather have a more open spoke design for 2 reasons. Number one, because I think they do look better, but otherwise the spec of the RS I was buying at the time was like perfect, so I thought, well, I can just look at the wheel situation a bit further on down the line, which of course I am now doing. But then also something that has become a real pet peeve of mine when cleaning the wheels that I currently have. I mean, I can jump outside even though it's very wet out there. These wheels, which are very, very dirty at the minute, are really not easy to clean because of the small gaps in between each spoke. So I really did want to get a more open spoke design, which obviously, you know, I can get my hand in between each one real easy. So cleaning these wheels is going to be a much more enjoyable process. So of course then, whenever I was looking around at wheels, I was looking at various different manufacturers. I know that I wanted shiny black. I think shiny black or gloss black wheels just work really nicely on the RS, and I knew that's what I wanted to go for. And like I was saying already, the open spoke design is what I wanted. So shopping around a few different manufacturers, I mean, there's obvious ones to look at like OZ Racing and also Sparkle. If you have been watching my videos going back years, you'll know that on my previous car, my Fiesta ST, I had a similarly open spoke design of wheel from Sparkle, which are made by OZ Racing, but they are just a bit more of a more affordable price point, and those were absolutely awesome wheels. I really love them. I actually still have them in storage, and they may be coming out of storage very soon, so watch this space. And those at the time were a big improvement over the stock Fiesta ST wheels because they were also lighter. Now I looked at the options from Sparkle for the RS for something that looked kind of, you know, like this, you know, the kind of thing that I was looking for, and there is an option there. So I could have got something that looked right, but if you look at the weight of those, they are still a pretty heavy wheel. They are around about the exact same weight as the standard wheels, so there would have been no gain in performance. Very basic wheel that just look real nice, and of course they are relatively inexpensive by comparison to some other wheel options out there. So if that's all you're looking for, like just looks and to save a bit of money, then they would be a great shout. But I really wanted to go for like an increase in performance as well at the same time whilst I was doing this whole thing. So that pushed me then on to looking at the likes of the OZ Ultraleggera HLTs, which for a while Mountune were selling, but now they don't sell them anymore, I don't think, but you can get them just on the regular aftermarket from other places. Now they look cool, and you know, you can get them in shiny black and, you know, open spoke, all that kind of stuff. They tick all the boxes, including then being very lightweight. I believe each one of the OZ wheels in 19-inch format weighs 9.3 kilos. So that was kind of what I was comparing everything else that I was looking at to the OZ wheels. Of course then, the thing about the OZs is that they are quite expensive. You know, they're one of the more expensive wheels on the market. So I wanted to do a bit of shopping around to see what else was out there that could compare, that could stand up to the OZ wheels. So as well then, there was a point that I was looking at just the Ford forged wheels. So the forged option that Ford provided when people were speccing out the brand new RS, and those are marketed as being a lighter weight, stronger option than the standard wheels, and of course that is true. So just for reference and comparison, the standard wheels, each one weighs I believe 12.75 kilos. So that's quite a significant amount per wheel than the OZs, like we were saying, 9.3. The Ford forged wheels, which tick most of the boxes as far as looks as well, which I would have been totally happy with, they come in at 11.65 kilos, I believe, per wheel. So a reasonable reduction per wheel over the standard wheels, but still heavier than the OZs. So then look at price. Buying a brand new set of those is like quite a lot of money, almost comparable amount of money to buying a set of OZs if you're buying them directly brand new from Ford. So it seemed a bit like a bad option. So then there is quite often ones that pop up on the used market, but then you have to wonder, on the used market, are they going to be badly curbed? Are they going to be buckled or damaged in any way? Are you going to have to go and spend like a couple of £100 getting them refurbed? You know, that sort of stuff. So, you know, it was still a possibility, but it was a bit of a kind of possibility. So then I went and I found the Revo wheels, and the Revo wheels, the price point of those was less than the Ford forged wheels, less quite a bit than the OZ wheels, but if you look at the specs, they tick all of the boxes. So they have that design that I like, you can get them in multiple different colors, including gloss black, which I like, and they are a lightweight wheel. So these weigh in at 10 kilos each, which is lighter than the Ford forged wheels, a little bit more than the OZ wheels, but not that much more. So I'm still gonna get a really good weight reduction with these wheels without having spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds more that the OZs would have cost. Back with the RV Revo wheels, which I believe they look pretty much identical. They were just a basic cast wheel, whereas like we were saying, the RFO, the new version, are flow formed. So it boils down to the main benefit being these are just a stronger construction than the old cast versions, which is great. I believe that the OZ wheels are actually flow formed as well. So essentially now with the Revo wheels, we're getting the same kind of construction, but at a lower price point, with a very similar weight reduction. I believe the RFOs are a little bit more expensive now because of that flow formed technology that they are now using, but for me it was a no-brainer at the time getting the buying the RVOs and getting the upgrade to the RFOs. I am super duper happy with them, and I can't wait to get them on. Looking at other specs then of the wheels, there's another couple of differences over the standard wheel. So they are the width of the wheel, these are 8.5, whereas the standards are 8, so that's half an inch wider, and then the offset is slightly different. Right now I'm running a reasonably small spacer, a 12.5mm spacer with my standard wheels. Essentially what this boils down to, if you do the calculations and stuff, it essentially boils down to, once these are on, these wheels will sit out in the arches to a similar degree because of the width and the offset difference. I believe the main benefit that, well, Revo certainly sell that as being with these wheels is that you can just put these straight on and you can fit a big brake kit onto your RS, whereas with the standards you would have to run some spacers in order to change the offset to push them out a bit in order to fit the bigger calipers in there. So I mean, that's a pretty cool thing as well. That means that we're going to have the question, which is a question that we're going to answer next time, which is, do I keep the spacers on there, or do I even need to have the spacers on there anymore? Initially the answer may be maybe not, but maybe it'd be cool to run the spacers as well. I guess we'll just find out once we actually get to the installation part of all of this. I think that's pretty much a quick overview of the wheels and what their wheels are all about, and the justification of why I chose these particular wheels over the other options on the market. Obviously there's loads of other options that I haven't even mentioned on the market, but these just seemed like a really good fit for me and what I was looking for, and I think they look fantastic, and I think they're going to look fantastic on the car. I mentioned that we were talking about tires as well, so I won't go into too much detail. The tire specs are essentially going to be the same as what we are currently running over there. You're still in the ideal range of tire sizing for both the standards and these. So like shopping for tires is exactly the same, which is pretty handy. I mean, you can do different things if you really want to, but the main consideration is which ones to go for. So there are loads of tire options out there, of course, much like there are loads of wheel options out there, but I kind of knew that I wanted to stick within the Michelin family of tyres. Back whenever I had my Fiesta, I did a bit of a discussion about tyres. I originally had a set of Bridgestone Potenzas of some kind, and they were okay, but they were a wee bit and at that time the best tyre that everyone was talking about was the Michelin Pilot Sport 3, and so ultimately that's what I ended up getting, and I thought they were absolutely fantastic. Of course, since then Michelin came out with a Pilot Sport 4 as a replacement, and so that is a pretty solid option. There's obviously like other things like Pirellis and Dunlops and Toyos and all sorts of stuff out there, and I'm sure loads of them are really great, and you know, maybe you have experience with different tyres. Throw it down in the comments section down below and we can have a discussion about different tyres and what you think is good. But you know, I don't need to necessarily go into any kind of like tyre reviews or whatever. You know, I've watched the YouTube videos, I've read the forums and stuff, and a lot of people still say that Michelin is the way to go, so that is just the way that I am going. So then it was a choice of, okay, Pilot Sport 4, or do we go with another set of what the RS was spec'd with from factory, which is the Pilot Super Sports. The Pilot Super Sports being a tyre for the road, but more track focused, but then also the Super Sports have this reinforced sidewall, which means if you're on the track and you're cornering hard, that reinforced sidewall isn't going to deform so much, so you're going to get better cornering performance. That's kind of the very high level overview idea of those tyres. I have a bit of a love-hate thing with those particular tyres, and that's because dry weather performance is amazing. They're so good in the dry. You can corner super hard and they grip, and they're just brilliant. Wet weather performance, not so much. Even like on a day like today where it's pretty wet, you wouldn't want to be pushing them too hard. Certainly not in any kind of hardcore like cornering situations. Even in damp conditions, they have a bit of a propensity not to grip in corners very well, which can be a bit disconcerting. And then the other thing about them is, I was gonna say, like, they don't last that long. I had two that I wore all the way down to the canvas, and I had one spontaneously explode just driving along one day. So I understand that they're like a performance tire, so they're not necessarily going to last as long as, you know, your average Joe tire that's, you know, got a really hard compound meant to go for, you know, millions of miles or whatever, you know. So I kind of get that, but I think mostly the exploding tire thing was a little bit off-putting. The spiritual successor to the Super Sports has been out for a little while now, and that is the Pilot Sport 4S. The reason why I call them a spiritual successor is that they are a slightly more track-focused version of the Pilot Sport 4, and they have the reinforced sidewall, but they are just overall a better tire, or at least that's what I understand from reviews that I've read. They have excellent dry weather performance, but they actually have pretty good wet weather performance, which is a real plus for me. So that is what I've ended up going for. I've ordered them and they are coming very soon. So before they arrive, I got to get these wheels prepped. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to wipe them down. You saw that little bit of dirt from the factory. We're going to clean that all down, and then we're going to get them ceramic coated, and that is step one of the wheel prep. Now, if you've watched videos before where I've done ceramic coating, I quite often would use a little alcohol swab, but of course with this we're working with a lot more surface area, so I would need about 100 of those little swabs. So I'm going to be using this, the G-Technic PW Panel White, which is essentially the same thing. It's mostly alcohol, but it also has a couple of other bits and bobs in there to help with the decontamination process. So essentially it's just going to be spraying this around, and then I've got a couple of brand new beautiful microfibers from Turtle Wax that I'm going to use then just to wipe off any excess. Of course, then being alcohol, it'll flash off as well, then that will be the surface completely ready for chemical bonding of our ceramic coating. So I'm going to start with the wheel upside down. I'm going to get right in here in the barrel area done first, then I'll flip it over, and then I will do the face of the wheels, and then that will be groovy, and I will get the rest of them done. Alright, there we go. I have went along and I have panel wiped all 4 wheels and they are looking lovely, clean and shiny. So now we are ready to get our coating on there, and I am going to be using Gtechniq Wheel Armor C5, surprisingly. And as you can see, I have plenty of it here. They're pretty small bottles. You can get 2 different sizes. They have little applicators in there, but then I also got one of these, which is just a bigger applicator with a foam thing on the inside, and then as well, you can fit your fingers in the back. So it just makes for slightly easier application of your ceramic coatings, which is, I think, a good thing whenever you've got quite a lot of surface area to cover. Very simple process, as you've probably seen before if you have been watching my videos. We get a few drops of our C5 onto our applicator, then we spread it around, and because we're working with fairly big surface areas, we're going to treat the rear, so the barrels and the rear of the wheel, as a surface, and then we're going to treat the face as a surface as well. So we're going to do it one surface at a time. Get the ceramic coatings spread around, then a nice clean microfiber to remove any excess, and then we leave it for a couple of hours and we do it again. But whenever we get the back on, we can flip the wheel over, do the front, and then do the same and get one layer on all 4 wheels, and then we'll come back in a couple of hours at least, and we will do a second layer. It's very important, I think, in this particular instance to do a couple of layers, and it's also very important to do the barrels of the wheels as well. Alright, there we go then. All 4 wheels have their first layer of wheel armor ceramic coating applied, looking absolutely lovely. But yes, like I was saying, I want to do a second layer on each wheel, front and back, just for maximum protection. So once that's done and the wheel armor is fully cured, then we're ready to move on to the next stage, which is TPMS. Okay, moving on to the TPMS sensors. I have 2 of these little kits because for whatever reason they come in sets of 2. Obviously they are official Ford parts, the correct type of TPMS sensors. I also have this little tool which we're going to use in a second, but I'll get to that in a second. So let's pull these out and have a little look. Here we are then. This is our 4 brand new TPMS sensors. So if you want to see, hopefully you can see that part numbers there. I'll throw it all down in the description box below if that's maybe not perfectly clear. But yeah, the valve stems are like attached onto the sensors with a little screw, which I believe is a T10 Torx. And then they're this rubber style, and that is where this tool comes in. So what we do is we take the cap off, we then screw the end of this onto the end of the valve, and then we like pull it up through the wheel using this tool. But I will show you that in a second. These TPMS valves and sensors, you could use the ones on your wheels already, and that would be in some ways convenient, but in other ways, for me particularly, it's not that convenient because I'm still using the other wheels and I'm going to be using them at some point in the future as well. So having 2 full sets of TPMS valves and sensors I think just works better. So yeah, let's get these into our brand new Revo wheels. Alright then, for getting these on, we're going to use our T10 Torx, and I'm going to remove the actual sensor from the valve. So just going to gently unscrew. Okay, don't lose the screw, that would not be fun. So then just pop that out of there. So on the bottom of the stem here, this side's fully flat, this side is not fully flat. The orientation of this is we want to put this up through, and we want the fully flat side on my right here. So what we do then is attach our tool to that and pull it through. So what we do is, essentially once we have that screwed on there, we're going to like use the rim to leverage and pull the valve stem up, and then what happens is the little rubber bit will sort of pop into the wheel. Probably don't need to because this is reasonably soft plastic, but just to protect my rim, I'm going to just put this nice plushy microfiber on the rim just as I apply the force. So it doesn't really require too much force. That is it in there. And then once it's in, just unscrew this. Alright, so things to watch out for. You might have seen that I was trying to sort of pull it from this side and kind of guide it from below. You want this little rubber rim right here to be nice and snug up against the metal of the wheel, and that is whenever you know that it is all the way in there. There isn't like necessarily a really like strong click whenever it pops in, so I would just keep an eye, and once that is touching the metal of the wheel, then you are good to go. Okay, next we can get our sensor back on. So it should be this, like you can see that square should be pointing outwards, and if we got this in with the flat side over here and the not flat side of this metal bit over towards me, this should just slot right on here, which it does. And then we simply just have to screw the screw back in. So as far as how tight you do this, I think there is a torque spec floating around there on the internet that says, I think it was 12 inch-pounds. Now if you translate that to Newton meters, that's like 1.355 Newton meters, and what that translates to, since most torque wrenches don't go that low, that essentially just means hand tight. So basically that feels kind of where it should be. Just get it hand tight and you should be good to go. So I'm just going to pop the cap on just until I'm getting the wheels. That's not happening today, unfortunately, but yes, that is this particular wheel fully prepped and ready for its tire. So now all I have to do is repeat that on the rest of the wheels. There we go. Every wheel now has its TPMS valve and sensor installed, so that is pretty awesome, and that is actually where I'm going to leave it for today. That is my brand new Revo wheels fully prepped and ready to receive their tires, which is happening in a couple of days time, which is why I'm leaving it here for now. So there will be a second wheels video, which will of course start off with getting the tires put on, and then we will move on to getting the actual wheels installed onto the car and what is involved in that. So yes, I hope you like this video. I hope you like these new Revo wheels as much as I do. Please do like, share and subscribe for more content to come very, very soon. Thank you once again. Goodbye.